Welcome back. Tomorrow, the president's son, Hunter Biden, will be inside a courtroom to stand trial on federal gun charges. Prosecutors say Hunter Biden bought a gun while he was addicted to drugs, which is a violation of federal law. The trial could be a distraction as the president's re-election campaign ramps up. Scripps News legal affairs correspondent Avajoy Burnett explains the legal and political implications.
Hunter Biden faces 3 counts of federal gun charges for a weapon he bought in 2018. Hunter Biden wrote about his addiction and buying this weapon in his memoir, and this is a story prosecutors plan to use against him. Hunter Biden repeatedly tried to avoid this moment of standing trial on federal gun charges after numerous unsuccessful attempts to put this case behind him. Prosecutors say Biden lied on a firearms form when he bought a gun in 2018. They say he checked a box that stated he was not addicted to any drugs when he knew that statement was false. The prosecution says the revelation was brought to light in Biden's own memoir, Beautiful Things. Last year, Biden and prosecutors were on the brink of finalizing a plea deal, but it unexpectedly fell apart at the last minute when Judge Mary Ellen Noreika scrutinized the agreement. Biden has said the indictment against him is based on politics.
I've made mistakes in my life and wasted opportunities and privileges I was afforded. For that, I'm responsible. For that, I'm accountable. And for that, I'm making amends.
But the prosecution says the strength of the evidence against him is overwhelming. Biden pled not guilty, but if he's convicted on all 3 counts, he could face up to 25 years behind bars. The president has not publicly commented on the merits of the case, but he said he supports his son.
I'm very proud of my son.
Todd Belt, the political science professor at George Washington University, said this case may have very little impact on President Biden's re-election campaign.
One of the things we know about American people during the time of American elections is that they really don't care what spouses or friends or family members do. They really just vote for the president, and family members are sort of given a pass.
Jury selection starts on Monday. 12 jurors and 4 alternates need to be chosen. The entire trial could last 2 weeks. Avajoy Burnett, Scripps News, Washington.
Hunter Biden also faces federal tax charges in California. That trial is set to start in September, but Hunter Biden has repaid those back taxes. Well, here now to talk more about this case is defense attorney Chandelle Summer. Thank you so much for joining us today. So with the seemingly overwhelming evidence stacked against Hunter Biden, what kind of strategy do you think the defense will or should take?
Good morning, Aaron. The strategy in this case will likely be more based on legal principles rather than the factual matter that he was maybe using drugs at the time that he filled out the gun application and received a firearm. The judge has already ruled that you only have to show someone was generally using drugs rather than specifically using drugs on the occasion that they bought the firearm. So it's probably likely that that count will succeed. Now, the legal standpoint here is that the United States Supreme Court, in a case called Bruin, determined that you can't put restrictions on the Second Amendment, and that unless there's a historical precedent for doing so. So there will be a legal issue as to whether or not putting these types of restrictions, and there's a laundry list of restrictions in the statute 922G, including people who have convictions for domestic violence, people who are using drugs, and whether or not that statute is unconstitutional. Interestingly, it's already been determined to be unconstitutional when applied to a marijuana user in the Fifth Circuit.
So, Chandelle, with jury selection beginning tomorrow, do you think the prosecution and defense will face similar challenges selecting a jury as the teams did during Trump's trial?
Of course, and even more importantly, the jury not being sequestered will be very prejudicial to Hunter Biden because he's already pled guilty, or he attempted to plead guilty to this when the plea bargain fell apart. Now, the jurors won't be introduced in evidence, and the jurors won't be specifically told that, but there's been a lot of news reports about this case. It's coming on the heels of the Trump conviction, so it appears to be one for you, one for me type of political gamesmanship. So this is going to be a very difficult situation for the lawyers to pick a jury on, because everybody already has formed an opinion and has very strong political opinions in this country.
Yeah, the timing of it. But you just spoke about that plea deal that did fall apart. Do you think we'll see any more surprise twists like that throughout the rest of this case?
No, I think that I think Hunter Biden is in an excellent position for an appeal in this case if he's convicted, because of the fact that these gun laws are under such scrutiny right now. He's certainly living at the right time, because on the heels of the Bruin case, which was the New York case, where they said unless there's a historical precedent for a restriction on gun rights, you can't do it. Now, users of drugs was not something that the founding fathers contemplated at the time that they enacted the Second Amendment. So that will be sort of the strong undercurrent of this case, is that there's a legal issue which would prevent him from ultimately being forced to serve any time.
A lot of things to play out. So if he is found guilty, do you think Hunter Biden will face prison time?
There's a lot of years on the table. I don't know. These are known in my business as addict in possession cases, and they're kind of considered minor things because it's so general. It's such a, well, when were you using drugs? Were you using drugs last year? Are you generally a drug user? Are the drugs things like marijuana? Are they cocaine? So it's a very vague statute, and I just don't know that it's one of the things that really people want to see people serve time for. It's kind of one of those things where you don't want to put guns into the hands of dangerous people, but the Second Amendment is strictly construed by the Supreme Court. So it appears as though these things may fall to the wayside eventually, all of these restrictions. Since they've already done it in one circuit, in Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi, they've already determined that any restrictions for use of drugs, specifically marijuana, cannot stand.
That trial starting tomorrow. Defense attorney Chandelle Summer, thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thank you, Erin.